Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take a complicated stack of sources, articles, research, ancient texts, and we try to give you the distilled wisdom you need. And today, we are wrestling with a challenge that is, it's as old as civilization itself, but it feels so urgent right now.
It really does.
How do you maintain any kind of contentment, any peace, when you look around and see just constant injustice? Paradoxes that don't make sense, situations that just feel wrong.
It's the engine of modern cynicism, isn't it? That gap between how the world should be, our ideals for it, and then the low reality of how it actually operates.
Yes, exactly.
We see good people get crushed by events and, questionable people enjoying rewards they definitely haven't earned. It makes you feel like the whole thing is just meaningless.
And what's so remarkable is that our source for this deep dive, an analysis of Ecclesiastes chapter 8, it proves this is not a new problem. Not at all. This ancient teacher, sometimes they call him the preacher or Koheleth, he faced the exact same tension millennia ago. And he delivered this powerful, practical guide for navigating it.
The material is just incredible because it balances this almost painful honesty about life's visible injustices.
Right.
The fact that the wicked often seem to succeed. But it balances that with this uncompromising insistence on two things: trusting in a justice that's bigger than what we can see, and embracing joy.
Joy as a present thing.
As a present, non-negotiable gift, yes.
So our mission today is clear. We're extracting that timeless, practical wisdom for you. How to approach authority wisely, how to deal with the injustice you see, and, maybe most importantly, how to maintain real joy, even when life's biggest questions. They remain completely unresolved.
Right.
Okay, so let's unpack this. And we're starting not with some abstract philosophy, but with something very tangible, our appearance.
Which is surprising, right? That's where the chapter begins. The first thing it says about wisdom is that it transforms a person's countenance. Their face. It's your internal peace made external. Wisdom brightens the face, and this is the key phrase, it changes its hard appearance.
I find that phrase, hard appearance, just so evocative. It suggests that, cynicism, bitterness, all that worry, it doesn't just mess with our minds.
No.
It physically manifests.
Yeah.
We walk around with this tense, cynical, defensive, hard look.
It's the visual sign of someone who thinks they have to control everything or understand every single injustice. And the sources argue that wisdom isn't just about collecting facts. It's about a state of being, a psychological state that lets you carry yourself with a calm demeanor.
Make you more approachable.
Exactly. More approachable, more pleasant to be around.
Well, wait, why should my face matter? I could be the most knowledgeable person in the room, totally capable of solving complex problems, but still feel completely burdened by all the world's chaos. Isn't that wisdom enough?
That's a great question. But from this ancient perspective, true wisdom has to lead to peace. If your knowledge just fuels your anger or your anxiety, you haven't mastered wisdom.
Wisdom has mastered me.
Wisdom has mastered you. The application here is a profound instruction. Let that peace, that grace, actually show on your face. It's an active choice to let go of that internal tension.
So if I'm constantly doom scrolling and walking around looking like I just lost a 3-hour argument, I need to check my wisdom.
Not just your newsfeed. Precisely. It's about cultivating that calm assurance that comes from seeing the bigger picture and recognizing that so many things are just beyond your personal ability to fix right now.
That distinction, what we can fix versus what we have to accept, that brings us right to the messy world of power and authority.
Which the teacher tackles next.
Yeah, we're instructed to respect and obey the king's command because of an oath taken.
Yeah.
And this sounds like absolute submission. To a modern listener, that can sound pretty problematic.
It is a straightforward call to honor legitimate authority. Government, your employer, whatever it is. And it stems from a covenant, a promise that's often witnessed by God. In that historical context, that earth meant civil authority was divinely sanctioned.
So it had to be respected for society to even function.
For order.
Okay, so the foundation is respect for order. But here's where it gets really interesting, because the text immediately pulls back from blind obedience. It says the wise heart knows the proper time and procedure.
That is the critical nuance. That's everything. It means obedience is strategic, not passive.
So it's not just doing what you're told?
Not at all. The text suggests that obeying commands generally leads to no harm, but wisdom means knowing when to speak and when to be silent. You shouldn't be impulsive in challenging authority, but you also shouldn't commit yourself to a bad cause.
So, If my boss or the government issues a command, the wise person doesn't just react emotionally.
Yeah.
They assess the strategic timing. They're asking, is this the time for protest, or is this the time for a strategic withdrawal and just patience?
Exactly. And the reason for that patience is immediately connected to the limits that the teacher puts on human power, even on the king.
Ah, the great equalizer.
The ultimate authority figure is, in the end, profoundly powerless against cosmic reality.
Okay, detail those limitations for us.
The source just hammers this home. The stark limitations on human control. No one has power over the wind, meaning no one controls nature or chance.
Right.
Critically, no one has power over the day of death. You cannot negotiate your lifespan.
No appeals process.
None. And in a time of crisis like war, no one is discharged from duty. And maybe most interesting, wickedness itself entraps the people who practice it. Their own schemes don't release them.
So every human authority, a dictator or a benevolent CEO, they're all subject to the same cosmic rules. They can't stop death, they can't control nature, and they can't even fully protect themselves from the fallout of their own wickedness.
And accepting that limitation is so profoundly liberating. It's a call to radical acceptance. If you accept that you can't control when you die, or the weather, it frees you from that burden of trying to manage everything.
It cuts right through that modern anxiety of perpetual management.
It gives you the peace you need for that soft countenance we talked about.
That makes perfect sense. If wisdom is freedom from that need to manage everything, we can focus our limited energy on what we can influence.
Yeah.
But even there, we run right into the thing that causes the most cynicism.
Justice.
Justice.
The teacher's observation here is almost like a precursor to modern criminology. He sees a direct link, a sociological link, between a system that fails and a population that becomes corrupted.
How does he describe that feedback loop?
He details the consequence of delayed justice. He says, when sentences for crimes are not quickly carried out, people's hearts are fully set in them to do wrong. The inefficiency, the lack of certainty or speed in the consequences, it basically gives people permission to do evil. It removes the deterrent.
Wow, that is such a powerful observation. So it's not just the crime itself that's bad, it's the lack of follow-up that breeds more evil.
And this brings us to the central tension of the whole chapter, the great paradox. The teacher, who's been so smart in his observations, has to admit what he sees with his own eyes.
Which is what?
He acknowledges the truly meaningless and troubling reality that sometimes righteous people get what the wicked deserve.
And the wicked people.
They get what the righteous deserve. He calls this explicitly meaningless and troubling. He does not look away from it.
So he names the pain. He doesn't offer some quick, easy answer for why the innocent suffer. He just looks at the world and says, yep, this is often unfair and it's deeply distressing.
Correct. Wisdom acknowledges the reality that you can see. But, and this is critical, it doesn't let that painful observation be the final word. This is the pivot.
Okay.
The immediate transition to a statement of faith. Faith in an ultimate justice, even when that justice is invisible or feels incredibly delayed.
This is the piece of information for you, the listener, struggling with today's injustices. So what is that key promise that lets the teacher endure this paradox?
He states that even if a wicked man commits 100 crimes and lives a long, long time, that wicked prosperity we see every day, he says, it will go better with God-fearing men who are reverent before God.
That's the long game perspective. But let me challenge that for a second. If I see a powerful, corrupt CEO or politician committing crimes and living this long, comfortable life, and I'm told to just trust in ultimate justice, isn't there a risk that this encourages apathy? That I'm letting the broken system off the hook by just saying, oh, God will sort it out later?
That's a necessary clarification. Absolutely. The text is not a command for passivity. We are still told to work for justice, to reform where we can.
Okay.
But the wisdom applies internally. It tells you how to regulate your own heart while you work. When you see wicked people prospering, you're instructed not to lose heart, not to let that observation poison your moral compass.
Or make you question the fundamental moral order of things.
Exactly. So it's about the distinction between my actions and my attitude. I have to act justly, but I also have to maintain my inner peace and trust that the outcome for the wicked, that prosperity they seem to have, it's temporary, even if their lifespan is long.
Right. It's unstable.
Precisely. Their success lacks a foundation of righteousness. So it's inherently unstable. And that's the mechanism that lets the wise person navigate the paradox without being consumed by bitterness or despair.
So if that's the struggle, dealing with all this injustice, power limits, paradox, what's the highest prescription? How do we translate that inner peace into a life that's actually worth living in all this chaos?
The teacher gives the clearest possible instruction. The core prescription is joy.
Joy.
He commends the enjoyment of life. This is his highest, most repeated recommendation in the whole book.
It feels almost jarring, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After detailing human suffering, oppression, delayed justice, the solution is just to enjoy a picnic. It can sound a lot like escapism.
It is the ultimate antidote to cynicism, and it is absolutely not escapism. The text says nothing is better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad.
Under the sun.
Yes, and that joy should accompany their work throughout their life. The key is that this joy is found under the sun, in the tangible, everyday reality of life. It's an act of faith. Accepting joy as a present gift and refusing to let global or systemic problems steal the simple, immediate pleasures of the moment.
I think this is where that ancient wisdom hits modern anxiety the hardest. So many people today feel this obligation to postpone joy. We tell ourselves, I can't be happy until this huge political problem is solved, or I can't relax until this systemic injustice is fixed. We make our inner peace conditional on a perfect world.
That is the trap the teacher warns against. He says, find gladness in today's work, today's meal, today's relationships. This joy isn't some frivolous preference. It's God's gift to you now.
The spiritual practice.
It's a spiritual practice of choosing contentment in an imperfect world, making sure the external chaos doesn't dictate your internal state.
And that practice of finding joy, it's intrinsically linked to the final piece of wisdom in the chapter, right?
Yes. Humility, the embrace of mystery. Absolutely. We have to pair joy with humility because of those limitations we discussed earlier. The text concludes by noting that no matter how much we study, no matter how hard the wise person works, we cannot fully comprehend what is ultimately happening.
What God is doing.
What God is doing, or why certain things happen the way they do. Even wise people who claim to know, he says, cannot understand it all.
That is incredibly liberating for the hyper-analytical, hyper-connected modern mind. You're saying we don't have to be able to map out every single variable.
You don't have to understand the cosmic purpose of every moment of suffering or have a perfect 5-year plan for justice. It calls for intellectual patience and profound trust. This humility isn't ignorance. It's a strategic form of letting go.
Embrace the mystery.
Embrace the mystery. Be comfortable with unresolved questions. Trying to force a logical explanation for every injustice is what leads back to the anxiety and that hard countenance we started with. Trust God's character even when you can't comprehend his ways.
What a powerful synthesis. This ancient wisdom. It gives us this crucial balance. It lets us have honest lament about the visible injustice, the brokenness we see every day, while at the same time demanding genuine, present joy. A joy that's rooted in ultimate trust.
We live in an age of constant outrage, right? Instant updates on global suffering. It makes it so easy to default to cynicism, anger, or just despair.
It's exhausting.
It is. And this deep dive into Ecclesiastes 8, it really provides a powerful antidote to that modern outrage culture. It calls us to a measured, wise, and ultimately joyful way of engaging with the world's problems.
We're reminding us that even though the world is broken,
the goodness of life still persists.
And that goodness is a present, available gift. So as you integrate this deep dive into your life, maybe reflect on this key idea. Are you currently postponing joy? Are you waiting until justice is fully achieved or all your hardest questions are perfectly answered? What simple pleasures, a meal, a conversation, a small win at work, what can you identify right now and find gladness in as a gift without waiting for the world to become perfect?
Making that choice today, that might be the wisest decision you can possibly make.
A profound challenge to end on. And on that note, we encourage you to continue exploring, learning, and diving deep into stories that inspire and challenge you. Until next time.